This week in This Week, old pal, funny Dave Damashek stopped by.
Apropos of nothing, but you
Sure.
did mention, I was thinking about this in the car, and then you mentioned going to hell. I was thinking about it. Do you think, and the question for everybody in the room, do you think that I know you don't believe in heaven or hell, Adam, and neither do I, but do you think you would go to heaven or hell?
Oh, yeah.
You would go to hell?
I know. We'd go to heaven. We'd all go to heaven.
Really?
Well, yeah, because if
not by the Bible.
No, I know, but let's try to break this down for a second. We're all good. We're all funny. So we know that.
That's the first thing God asks at the pearly gates.
One could not. Here's the way I look at heaven and hell. Same way I look at turning on the cell phone or the iPod in flight.
Definitely not funny.
If it was really that dangerous, they wouldn't let you have it. You know, they go, absolutely no portable electronics, all need to be shut off, whatever. But half the time you go, fuck it, I got my earbuds in, I'm just going to listen to the rest of what's on my iPod. And you realize, if it was going to take down the plane, there's no way they just rely on the word of everyone to do that.
That's a great point.
So there's believe me, everything would be confiscated. Just like anything that could be possibly used as a weapon or anything else. So if
we wouldn't be taking our shoes off at the security check. They would just be checking people for their phones. Right?
If it made a difference, you would not have it on your person and they would not rely on you. Now, if there was a heaven and hell and you went to hell for masturbating, or you went to hell for using the Lord's name in vain, or you went to hell for lying, there would be an overpopulation in hell and nobody we know would not be in hell. So if there was an actual heaven and hell, there isn't, but if there was, there's no way it could be laid out like it is. It would be laid out on good person, bad person. It'd be laid out on, did you do any harm to others? During whatever tenure you had on this planet, did you bring a little good or did you take some?
That's true. I guess Defending Your Life, one of your favorite pictures of all time.
Yeah,
that's how it would be.
I think that's how it would be. And it wouldn't be you'd have to kill someone. You could just be a shitty lawyer or publicist or one of these vermin.
Or selling your daughter.
Selling your daughter for $25. You have to get more than that.
Because she wouldn't let you kiss you when she was 3.
Yeah. The point is what kind of person were you? Not did you beat off in Dade County.
Mm-hmm. Right. You look at the net good or bad.
Yeah.
The totality. Even if you did a few bad things, did you do more good?
Yeah. And then there's sort of ultimately what kind of footprint did you have in terms of good versus
Isn't it
negative?
creepy, though, that these people who are devout Catholics, and I assume in most religions, that they really, that really should have more of an effect on the way they deal with us, because they think any Catholic thinks you're, Teresa, going to spend eternity in hell. How can they deal with you then?
Because I pass as Catholic with my name. You know what I'm saying?
But they all think I'm going to hell. What do they want to yap with me for?
You are passing.
Well, especially when you throw your hands around that, like, what with me? Listen, they don't believe it. They don't. And this is one of my newest theories. It's about 10 years old. I don't believe they believe it. I really don't. I really don't believe even devoutly religious people believe.
I know that the priests don't. I think largely they don't buy it. I think that
anyone you see on TV talking about it don't believe it. And then the people that sort of have that, I have a guardian angel or I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, they don't really believe it. None of those people. First off, if we're in the aforementioned airplane and it hits some turbulence and we're heading toward the mountain, they're all shitting as big a brick as we are. And I know that feeling that feeling when you know you're in a dream and something sort of bad is happening and it's frightening, but there's a part of you that knows this isn't really it. Like I'm going to be, I kind of know I'm dreaming. I know I'm not really, I have some fear in me because I just jumped off this building or got pushed off this bridge, but there's a little part of me that knows that somehow I'm going to land on the ground and kind of be okay. They would have that about almost everything in life. First thing they'd be is a lot more fucking laid back than they are. It'd be a lot of, I'm going to heaven, so listen, you keep your talking. Or, after you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to fucking, streets are going to be paved with gold. I'm going to be at the hem of my maker. This is going to be reunited with my dog from junior high. This is going to be awesome. So they wouldn't be nearly as uptight about it. The next thing they wouldn't be doing is they wouldn't be bugging you. Because who the fuck wants overcrowding in heaven? You know, you're looking for a parking place.
Yeah, why are they
in
trying
heaven?
to correct
you
your
have to get
shit?
a handicap placard just to fucking park at the Costco in heaven?
Right.
Because you know a guy at the DMV in heaven? Although I don't think there'd be any DMVs in heaven.
No, clearly not.
But the point is this. Why am I recruiting? Like, let's just say I know very well that there's a place for me in heaven, and I believe it. And now I got you three guys, and you guys don't believe it.
Yeah, but
Good.
I get $100 off of my direct TV if I attract
you.
a couple other
right.
people. So
No,
good point.
when they get angry and when they get pushy and eventually with certain cultures, when they start killing you, it's because you have made them question their belief. You really want to get someone pissed off? Make them say something that they know is true but don't want you to know they know is true. You know, get them with something. Call a thin guy fat all you want, and he just laughs it right off. But have an argument with a guy and really hit that button, that soft, sweet spot in his underbelly. Really, really let him know that that guy will get violent. And religious people, when you start arguing with them a little bit, they should just walk away laughing.
Because they're certain.
They're certain, but they're not certain. That's why they never stop fucking with you and trying to convert you, because they're trying to get their belief system based on how many of you they can. And when you bring some kernel of doubt into their mind by going, look, what's the proof? And there's carbon dating and the planet's 1 billion years old. And what are you talking about? And when's the second coming? And every generation before you has waited and it never came. And they're all on the ground. At a certain point, these guys are going to get angry because each logical argument you make erodes their belief a little bit. And I don't believe that they really believe it. I believe they would like to believe it. I don't really believe they believe it. And I'm gonna go even further. I'm taking this to the Muslims and the rest of the world too. I don't think they'd be blowing us up. I think if we're really infidels, they're just gonna rot in hell and we're gonna feel the swift sword of Allah's justice upon our neck and all that. Good. Then he'll take care of it. But he never gets around to it. What the fuck? Where is Allah and the swift sword of justice?
Stuff.
They get around to it.
But do you ever feel a little bit jealous of people who do believe in God?
Always,
I do.
but I don't believe them.
I'm so even there are times when, even though if you gave me the no lie MRI, I would fail. I make little deals with God and I talk to God, even though I really kind of know that. Well, I like to think there's some sort of force, if you will, to put it in Star Wars terminology.
Thank you.
I deeply doubt it, but I still talk to that force anyway. But I'm truly jealous of people who have complete faith.
Yeah, I am too. But if something happens to them or someone they love, they weep as loud as we do, and they seem to carry it around. And I mean, I wonder, again, I just wonder how much faith they actually have, and I wonder how much they actually believe.
200 years ago, it was perfectly plausible that you would accept it. Now, you
Right.
really have to be a dimwit to completely to be able to delude yourself.
And yet there
to that
are
degree.
some very smart people who
Very
believe in God.
It's the same as the scientists who don't believe in global warming, because there's because there's one that disproves the rule. There's I forget what that scientists and religionists who I forget what.
No, there is. I tend to disagree, because I think there are, historically for sure, and even in modern times, there are plenty of educated, great thinkers that are religious. I mean, I don't understand it, and I disagree with it, and I don't know how you can head up this department at Brown University in the sciences and be a devout Christian, but there's an alarming amount of these guys, which I find bizarre.
Me too.
And counterintuitive.
Maybe you can believe in the tenets of a religion, do unto others and all that stuff, without actually believing in Jesus being the Son of God.
But these guys do. But all that stuff is basically no shit. And it's all just a sort of, basic SkyMall to keep people in line. It's just basically read this, don't covet your neighbor's wife or his ox. Well, my neighbor's ox died.
Don't eat pork. Circumcise yourself.
Yeah, like there's certain things that have to do with cleanliness.
Right.
Certain things have to do with spare some rods and don't beat the shit out of your kid.
Let the field go fallow every 7 years.
Yeah, like there's stuff that kind of makes all right, you shouldn't murder, and if someone does murder, then we should take care of them. And it's like a lot of just sort of basically I would call it no shit.
Cliff's notes to morality.
Yeah.
If you spend enough time in your brain, you will achieve the same moral standards that are laid out in all the religions.
That's the only, one of the only beefs I have with the religious people is when they do what's to stop people with whatever. And you go, because murder is wrong. According to who now? We have no book written by a bunch of fucking freaks from 2,000 years ago, so how do you know it's wrong? You know that I would argue the same reason you don't fucking eat your kids. Like you just intuitively, nature builds that into you that you don't do, you don't see somebody crossing the street in front of your car and punch the accelerator. It's wrong. You don't have to be religious to know that. It's wrong. It's just wrong. And the idea that we don't have that kind of free will, that we need to, crack the good book and check the Old Testament to figure out, should I hit this pedestrian or not? Let me check the Old Testament and see if I should do it. That's nonsense. And it's actually sort of insulting as a species.
It's great, but it's great to provide those things for children because you don't want to tell, Grandpappy is, he's in the ground. It's grim.
Right.
It's nice for children. But yeah. And by the way, there's also a backup thing called Our Nation's Laws. That also, for that that 3% that is going to step out of line, maybe the fact that they might wind up in the clink being spat upon.
Adam's jail? Good and funny?
Good and funny.
When it's coming for me, and that's where I have to go. Good and funny,
Warden Baby Doll's not going to be pleased that you are not good or funny.
Warden Baby Doll.
All right, I'm sorry to distract with bringing that. I just was thinking about that. Because I imagine everybody probably, whether they're religious or not, thinks like, well, yeah, I think I would go to heaven. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to think that they're going.
I would venture to say that everyone we know and communicate with, and as part of our lives, would go to heaven if there was such a thing as heaven, because there's no way there's no way that there'd be laid out that you could go to hell and hanging out with Jeffrey Dahmer and Charles Manson and
not Ray.
Larry Hitler, or whatever his first name is, and be sitting there with those scoundrels and be there because you beat your meat a couple of times in Dade County. Like that. By the way, you think I complain a lot, as a man of flesh and blood. Wait till I go to hell and have to bunk up with Manson. But it'd be nonstop. I blow through a couple of red turn arrows and beat off a couple times. Use the Lord's name in vain a handful of times. I'm at the fucking mass murder. This is where I am for this. Who's laid out this plan?
Then the supervisor comes in and informs you, Adam, it wasn't that you ran those red lights. It's that you wouldn't stop talking about them for 8 years.
Yeah. You drove a lot of people to suicide.
Yeah. No, even better, though.
Bigger mass murder than
even
Charles
better
Manson.
if you end up in heaven on a puffy cloud, surrounded by beautiful women and angels singing, and then you still find things to complain about.
Yeah. Is it cold in here? I'm cold. This tunic is very drafty.
Now that's a good one. What can Adam complain about in heaven? I love that.
Is this muslin? What kind of cloth is this?
Is a tag still on
I found
this
it
tunic?
confining. How do you know where the front and the back of the tunic is? I don't know if I'm wearing it right ways. It feels like I'm wearing it backwards.
Who wants 99 virgins anyway?
Yeah.
They don't have any experience.
Yeah.
I got to teach these girls everything?
Let me say this about these sandals. What's with the extra 3 feet of strap? I got to wrap them all the way up my shin. What's up? Not playing hoops in these things, just walking on clouds.
What about God?
Could go barefoot.
Can you complain about God?
I'm sure. I mean, I haven't met the man, but I'm sure I would find some beef. He'd probably God would be one of these guys who does the bad handshake.
He does.
Turns it sideways and goes a little right or left, or grabs it a little tight. You know what God would do? He'd do that power move where he shake it, grab the end, squeeze the end too hard. There's the guys who grab just the tips of the fingers and then mash them all together just to let you know who's fucking boss.
Or he gives you an uncomfortable bear hug for too long.
Yeah, could do that. Hug it out. Or you'd probably have the uncomfortable thing with God, because you do that thing where you'd go, "Hey, God, how you doing?" It'd be like that guy who you you were pretty close with in high school, but haven't seen for a while, and then you run into him at a mall, and you're like, hey, and you start to do the shake, and he starts to do the hug, and then he switches to the shake, and you go to the hug, and you don't want to feel uptight in front of God, but you're a son. You know what I mean?
Right.
You'd hug it out. Or then what? Like weird fist bump, like Howie Mandel?
I wonder if you're allowed to, are you allowed to watch R-rated movies there? You know?
Unclear if they have cable or satellite.
What do you eat?
I imagine they have satellite.